You are watching Fugitive Red-Eye, and it's been a long time since I've done a Games with Gold review. It's March, and the new game right now is Layers of Fear. I went into this game completely blind, not knowing at all what it was, but I'm going to go ahead and give an attempt to describe it as simply as possible. Layers of Fear is an investigative, immersive, first-person scary story. You take the role of an artist, whose name I don't know yet. I don't know if you figure it out later in the game. I'm on the final chapter, but I haven't beat it quite yet. As you progress through the game, you gather clues to give you the plot, as well as to help you progress. The further you get in the game, the more and more you paint a painting, and the further you progress, the more the painting progresses as well. The gameplay is mainly just you wandering around a big mansion with a lot of creepy stuff and clues. You're just collecting clues to help you progress. There's also some puzzle solving involved. Very simple stuff, but puzzle solving nonetheless. Now, the game itself is awesome. I absolutely love the atmosphere of this game. It's gloomy, it's immersive, it's fun. The puzzles are fun to figure out, and it's fun to read the clues and just explore. Granted, the game is incredibly linear. It's still very explorative in feeling to me, just because you have to look around the room and open every cabinet if you want to make sure you find everything. Most of the charm of this game comes from the gloomy atmosphere, like I said. It builds up kind of a feeling of tension and isolation. If I had one major criticism, I don't much care for the jump scares they have. There's not that many of them, but the ones that they do have, just kind of meh. The thing I like about this game, as opposed to most survival horrors of today, is this one's not just a survival horror game. It's an investigative game. It kind of reminds me of Murdered Soul Suspect in that light. Albeit, I think, a much more tense setting and a much more alone feeling to it. One of the more interesting features about the game is sometimes you'll come through a door, explore a room, and then go back through the same door, and it will take you to a completely different location than you came from. The hallways are constantly changing to different areas, and sometimes you'll even go in rooms that don't make any logical sense, such as one that's like thousands of stories high with like floating bookshelves and stuff. Also, some of the puzzles kind of reminded me of the game Call of Cthulhu Dark Corners of the Earth, albeit the puzzles in Layers of Fear are much, much easier than that game. One other thing that does kind of irritate me is, for one, anytime you enter a room, the door will usually lock behind you, which I'm okay with. However, there's a couple instances where you're not sure if you're supposed to go to the other room to get something to solve the puzzle in one room, and if you're not, and you leave the room, then the door locks behind you and you can't go back in. For instance, there's a part with a Ouija board where you have to put in a phone number that you've got through the previous puzzle, however, you don't know the last digit. And there was another door open, so I went into that room thinking maybe I would get the last digit, but no, the door locked behind me and I couldn't go back to the Ouija board. Also, you can die from the jump scares in the game, obviously. I don't know if the deaths are avoidable. I know a couple of them are, but there's a lot of deaths I feel just kind of happen regardless. Luckily, when you die in this game, it doesn't start you over. You just wake up in the same room you're in, or you just wake up in the next part of the story. Now, like I said, I'm not too keen on the jump scares, because jump scares are kind of played out, but again, they're not a major feature of this game, so they don't kill it. However, even though I don't like the jump scares, I do kind of like the parts where you see the people run through a hallway or something and you follow them, something like that. I just don't particularly like it when you do that and it ends in a jump scare and a death. As you pick up more and more clues, you find out your character is a very disturbed person. I won't say too much because I don't want to be a spoiler, but you can tell he's kind of disturbed. One other minor criticism I have that doesn't really bother me, but might bother some people, is the main menu does take a little bit long to load up. However, once the main menu is loaded up, there's very little load times involved in the game at all. Usually it just loads up immediately. The one exception is when you paint a part of the painting, it'll load in a new area, and sometimes that takes a moment. Another thing I like about this game is the fact that it actually has a story, as compared to other horror games that are just kind of, ooh, spooky stuff. In a world where we get nothing but Five Nights at Freddy's clones, it's nice to see a game that's different, and it's a breath of fresh air to see a game that doesn't rely completely on jump scares. Also, I like it that this game doesn't have some stupid shit where you just progress with more and more enemies appearing and having more and more challenge added to it. I don't like Five Nights at Freddy's or Five Nights at Freddy's clones, and I'm glad to say that I really like this game. Now, I don't particularly like numbered rating systems because I feel they're arbitrary and bullshit, But if you want my honest opinion, I suppose, this is just a complete guess, because like I said, I don't like numbered systems. I suppose I'd give this game at least a solid 8, if not a 9, and granted, I'm being incredibly nice about it because I really like this game. I'd give it a 10, even if it wasn't for the fact that I don't really care for the jump scares, but everything else is solid in this game. The puzzle solving, the atmosphere, the gloom, the isolated feeling, everything just makes it work. I'd say if you were interested in Murdered Soul Suspect a couple months back when it was free, then I definitely recommend downloading this, because it has much of the same investigative feeling to it, albeit with a completely different setting and different gameplay. Other than that, I recommend you download this game while it's still free. I might also be getting the DLC later on, which of course isn't free, but I really like this game, so... Other than that, I hope you've enjoyed this little review. This has been Fugitive Red Eye, and you have a great rest of the day.